Hey y'all, welcome back. It's Care. Lenny is gonna be in the background of this video, chewing on his carrot like a good boy while I talk about all of the books that I read for the Romanceathon this summer. So, in case you didn't know, the Romanceathon is a readathon that took place from June 22nd through June 28th, and it was hosted by Jacqueline from We Be Bookin' and Gabby from Gabby Reads. Gabby is one of my absolute favorite booktubers. She has just wonderful thriller and romance recommendations, and both of those are pretty much my favorite genres, and I love reading from those. I love her recommendations. I have both of their channels linked below, so go check them out. I had such a fun time with this readathon. This was my first readathon ever, and I'm happy to say that I did complete all of the challenges. I didn't finish my entire TBR, but the books that I did complete ended up answering all of the questions. Everything in this video is going to be spoiler free. I did finish Get a Life, Chloe Brown by Talia Hibbert and Beach Read by Emily Henry. I'm about halfway through with the buddy read, which is If I Never Met You by Vari McFarlane, and her name is pronounced Vari, I believe. I heard that correctly in the audiobook. So before I tell you what these books are about and what my thoughts were, I want to explain how they fulfill each of the prompts. Prompt number 1 was read a romance that was published in 2020. Beach Read was published earlier this year. Read a romance with a cute illustrated cover. Get a Life, Chloe Brown, and Beach Read are both super cute, but I think that this kind of counts more since the characters are actually, like, you can see all of them on the front. Read a romance that includes your favorite trope. For me, it's enemies to lovers. They covered that in Beach Read. Read a new to you author. Again, Talia Hibbert and Emily Henry are both new authors to me, so I have not read anything from them. These are both my first time reading from them. And read a book with 5 or more words in the title. So Get a Life, Chloe Brown covers it. Technically, the buddy read was not a prompt. It was just kind of like a book that if you read it, it should knock out a few of the different prompts for you. And when I saw it was on Scribd and realized I had one audiobook option left for this month, I decided to go ahead and read it there, listen to the audiobook, and I'll get to my thoughts on that probably at the end, because I do want to first talk about the 2 books that I read this week because they were so good. I am in love with this genre. I'm not gonna stop anytime soon. Let's get into talking about Get a Life, Chloe Brown. I absolutely love this book, and I rated it somewhere between 4 and 4.5 stars. It was so close to being 5 stars, and I wanna go ahead and get it out of the way that the only reason I didn't rate this 5 stars was just because to me, it was a hair too long. It was right at 365 pages. And even though in a lot of ways I wasn't ready for the story to end, there were just a few parts in the book that I thought were maybe a little overwritten. I think that Talia Hibbert has a beautiful writing style, and I think she was really able to get right to the heart of these characters. Like, their dialogue was witty and snappy, and I loved that. But these 2 characters spent a lot of time not with each other, like internalizing their own thoughts and feelings, because we have dual perspectives here. And I think that one thing that I usually look for in a romance is, like, I want to see these people together a lot. So I don't know, in some ways I did like it because we kind of got to grow closer to these characters as individuals and not just like shipping them as a couple. But yeah, that's kind of my thought process there. So our title character here, Chloe Brown, is in her early 30s, and she suffers with chronic pain and a chronic illness. So she's finally branched out from living at her parents' home. She's moved into an apartment complex, and she runs her own website, like graphic design company. She's self-employed and a consultant for those kind of things. And then Redford Morgan is her apartment's superintendent. And at first, they don't really get along. This is another one that's enemies to lovers in a way. The enemies doesn't last too long because these 2 do strike up a really sweet friendship. But Chloe Brown, right at the very beginning of the book, has a near-death experience, and this kind of sparks her into thinking, wow, I'm not living my life the way that I want to be living. I don't even feel like I'm living at all. Life is just passing me by. So she comes up with this list of a few items of things she wants to do to help her get a life. That's where the title comes from. And eventually, Lenny, stop. Eventually, she recruits Red to help her work through this list. That's the only part of the plot I'm gonna tell you about, but I really wanna talk about how healthy this relationship is. Lenny, stop it. Both of these characters have experienced abusive relationships to some extent in the past, whether it's slightly physical. There's not just a ton of physical abuse in this book, but there are some light things that are mentioned. Mostly what we're talking about here is like mental abuse, gaslighting, things like that. Talia Hibbert even includes a little warning at the beginning of the book. You know, just for people who are sensitive to content like that, be aware because it's in here. And these characters are able to take what they experienced in their past and talk about it in a healthy way in their relationship. It was just so refreshing to read. I hate to say I don't read too many books like this because I really think that I should, and I think everyone should be reading books with healthier romances if you want to, if you're interested in that. Before I read this, I didn't know that's something that would feel so soothing to me, but it has. And you're gonna see this come up again in Beach Read because I feel like that had a similar feel to it. Last thing I'm gonna say about it is that I really did love it and I really recommend this to just about anybody, any type of reader who likes romance. Next, we're gonna talk about Beach Read by Emily Henry, which I have to say is my new favorite book of 2020. I'm pretty sure. Like, this is one of my new favorite books of all time, actually. I did read this on my Kindle, so I'm gonna pop a picture up on the side. I'll scoot over a little bit so you can see the cute cover here. I'm gonna start by telling you what I think Beach Read is actually about. If you have heard of this book, which I'm sure you probably have at this point, you've probably heard of it described as these two authors who are arch nemesis from college who end up staying in beach houses next to each other for one summer, and one writes literary fiction and one writes romance, and then for the summer they decide to switch genres to get out what is this, to get out of their writer's block. That's how this book was pitched to me, and just from that I was in. It sounded so cute and so good. I've got to break it to you, this goes way deeper than that. This was a very serious book in a lot of ways, and I highly recommend this book to you if you kind of like the romance genre, but you also are a fan of literary fiction. You like a little bit, I don't want to call it a slow burn, but you like more serious themes in your books. Not that romance does not often have really serious topics, but this book just seemed to go deeper on so many levels that really spoke to me than anything else I've ever read that's like either contemporary romance or anything like that. Anything at all. He is straight up shredding this paper towel right now. Lenny, stop. 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 We're just gonna throw a blanket on it and pretend it didn't happen. So again, I'm not gonna get into spoilers here, but just so you know, the main characters' names are January and Gus. January moves to this small-ish beach town after the death of one of her parents. Again, not a spoiler, this is what the whole book centers around. But soon after she moves in, she realizes that Gus, who went to her college, who was a little bit older than her, but they were in the same creative writing classes and they didn't really get along. Like, there was a little bit of a spark there, maybe. I'm not gonna give too much away, but they didn't really get along. They were not friends in college, but she realizes that he is her neighbor and that they're going to be living next to each other this summer. And it's this whole thing of like, he doesn't believe in happy endings and he thinks that she does, and they both don't know what's hiding under the surface of the other person's personality. And this was just such a beautiful book. If you've read this book, no matter what your thoughts were, I highly recommend checking out the Page Turner Book Club's book review for this book, like their book club that they did a few days ago. It was on Mare's channel from Mare Reads. Jess and Catie, I'll have their links in the description as well, because this was such a great video and it was such a fun time discussing this book. And yeah, I just wanted to mention that really fast before I forgot. But getting back to the book, I don't think I've ever rooted harder for two people to fall in love, and I'm not gonna tell you what happens in the book, like what their journey is like or how it ends. Of course I wouldn't tell you how it ends, but I think you just need to go into this blind. I actually had really low expectations going into this book because I thought it was gonna be cute, I thought it was gonna be summery, and then I would like it, that I would enjoy it. I didn't think it was gonna touch me as much as it did. Since both of these people are at the beach writing books, we get to see little glimpses of what the books are about, the research they're doing together for these books, and let me just say, I want to read these books. They sounded so good, and I really enjoyed, like, a lot of times when books contain layers like that, I get really bored when we're having to look at either what the characters are writing or what they're reading or what they're watching or whatever. I thought that it did not not take me out of the piece at all, and I was really into these books. It reminded me a lot of in Night Film, how I wanted to watch all of Cordova's films, that this is what that was like for me. But I just want to leave it at that. I think that you get the gist of what this book is and how much I loved it. I didn't say it maybe, but I gave it 5 stars, and this is like one of the hardest 5 stars I've given. I was really feeling into it. And very quickly, I also want to talk about If I Never Met You. I would not have ever picked this up if this hadn't been the buddy read for this week, and I am gonna finish it. I could have probably finished it this weekend, but I didn't want to rush it. This is a very slow burn. I'm almost halfway through the book, and the 2 people who I'm assuming are going to be love interests have had like 3 or 4 scenes together, and it's not even that much tension that has been built up. I'm not going to tell you how this book starts because I had no idea going in, and I was shocked. Like after 2 chapters, I was like, whoa, I was not expecting this. I'm horrible at giving these descriptions. Y'all don't have to tell me. All you really need to know is it has the fake dating trope, which I'm not usually super into, but kind of I am in this one because these people are in their mid-30s. I think that the main character's 36, so I feel like she's very real and not just, this plot does not seem silly to me is what I'm trying to say. I just think that with this being such a slow burn, hopefully the buildup is worth it. If it's not, then that would be a shame, because this is actually the longest book out of everything that was on my TBR. I know I'm listening to it as an audio book, but the narrator has an accent that's not an American accent. It sounds British to me. I'm not 100% sure on that, but when that happens, I have to slow the audiobook down. I usually listen to things at 2 times the speed, but my poor southern ears are not equipped to listen to like a British or an Irish accent that I love. Like, I love it, but I can't listen to it sped up because I have no idea what they're saying, like no idea. So that's why it's taking me so long to listen, but I am loving it. Okay, thank you guys so much for watching. I had such a wonderful time reading these books this past week. If you participated in Romanceathon, please let me know in the comments what you read. Please like this video if you did like it, and subscribe if you want to. Thanks, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.